Greetings and welcome to Flanagan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanagan, and today I've got Chance Claxton as my guest. She is the CEO and co-founder of Orbis Electric in Corte Madera up in Marin County. Orbis Electric is a company devoted to speeding the transition to low-carbon mobility and data center efficiency. We're going to talk about that. She's had a number of interesting career steps that we'll talk about. I think it's fair to say that you're a serial entrepreneur, right? Chance, welcome to the
Yeah, I would,
podcast.
unfortunately so, yes.
Now, why would you say unfortunately?
Well, it's not always a direct path, but it's always fun and creative and it really it fits my personality type. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, and it sounds like things are always changing. Um, I introduced
Definitely.
you as the CEO and co-founder of Orbis Electric, and now I understand you're actually the company's going through a little bit of a pivot as you're refining your target audience for your products. I think you're going straight into
Yeah,
data center cooling, which is a
correct.
little bit of a change since the first time we spoke.
Yeah, really our technology is so all purposeful. So we have been in this amazing collaboration the last 4+ years with VW in Germany, VW Group Innovation. They
Mhm.
have been extraordinary at validating what we have as we call it a pancake motor. Really, it's an
Yeah,
axial flux motor that it's lighter weight, it's lower cost, it's higher efficiency, and it's going to give any vehicle that wants to be hybrid or electric the upside. So we've been in this deep dive and really focused on VW and some other OEM opportunities the last few years. But what has also transpired during that time is that we we have other applications, one being in a refrigerated trucking space
yeah,
where our motor can be used as a generator, and it's really an exciting space for me because it highlights sustainability a lot. But of late, and everything that's taking place with data centers,
yeah,
we can use our technology there as well. So
absolutely. So
it
this,
makes sense for our, it makes, to answer your question, it makes sense for our CTO
yeah,
who can really speak to that fluidly to step in.
it's such a booming market, isn't it? The whole data center and the power requirements. So makes a
It
lot of
is.
sense. Well, let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about this pancake motor because what a cool thing that you come up with a motor that's lighter, more efficient. And you were for a while there, Orbis Electric was focused on putting these what do you call them in-wheel motors, so that a car instead of having one motor at the front of the car or the back of the car would have one motor in every wheel, right?
So correct, you can have it, they can be placed on the two rear wheels, and essentially, for all intents and purposes, that creates a hybrid vehicle.
Yeah,
And then all four would be a really high torque, high horsepower, a battery electric vehicle.
right, right. So now the application going into the data centers, it's largely for air conditioning systems in the data centers. Is that right?
Yeah, it's used as a pump. So, these data centers right now are extraordinarily grid intensive, I guess I would say. They're really
Yeah,
taxing, even down to people's electricity bill and people having problems with water. So, by using one of our motors in a 20 megawatt hallway for data centers, the water demand will be decrease by anywhere from 90 to 95%. So it's just a highly efficient way of cooling what are really hot environments and also cutting the costs. And
yeah, yeah. How exciting! And does this
mhm.
mean that you'll no longer be working with electric vehicles?
Oh, Ted, that's such a good question. That is so, no, what it means, and back to your original question, what it means is that we are now addressing multiple verticals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're still very dedicated to automotive, but we're also very dedicated, and being a company that's fundraising. This
Hmm.
whole AI movement
Yeah.
is really compelling for getting eyeballs on us as well.
Yeah,
So yeah.
and obviously now with the tax credits for EVs going away, there seems to be certainly out of Washington less focus on electric vehicles, but
Mhm.
everybody is focused on AI right now and the huge requirements for these data centers. So
It is the
sounds
crunch.
like a logical thing, and it sounds like I sort of see the theme of our discussion being how do you pivot? How do you move from all of these different? You've had so many different career paths already in your life,
Mhm.
and uh, and I guess you just have to sort of go with the flow. You must be very flexible.
That's so nice. Well, I think you bring up a good point. It's in a small company, everyone has to wear the hats where they're best suited, I
Yeah.
think. And you do have to be flexible. So right now, um, me stepping in as chief operating officer makes a lot of sense because I'm in that entrepreneurial spirit. That's what I do. I guide and
Mhm.
get things done. So we have a lot of projects taking place, and being able to oversee them all and make sure that they're all on liftoff mode is what I'm doing.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this, but you've been in so many different markets in your career, and I asked you before when we had a pre conversation, where did you get this entrepreneurial spirit?
Hmm.
And you said probably from my mom, right? She started
Hmm.
a real estate company when you were a kid, and you watched that, and she didn't really have any
Yeah,
specific credentials to do so, but she just dived in and said, "We'll figure it out."
yeah, that's essentially she. Got divorced in the late '80s and had two teenage girls, and she basically went out and created it was a marketing and PR firm that was focused on commercial real estate space in San
Mhm.
Francisco, and she did really well. And I think I saw that, and I think it's much of what my daughter sees about me now too, that
Yeah.
when you have an idea, you may not always have a master's in whatever it is you want to do and approach, but you can still. I've had a few times when I've started companies and gotten them off the ground because it's a strong passion and idea.
Yeah, you have a spark. You have a spark, and you must be very, very good at networking and all. So,
Yeah.
I mean, going all the way back, you started out with the company called Design Within Reach. Talk about that company. I mean, it's far away from Pancake Motors, I think.
Very far. um, that Design Within Reach is the brainchild of the founder Rob Forbes, who in the early '90s saw that there's all this amazing design, furniture design, and
Mm,
mid-century modern design that's just at that time was not very accessible. It took months to get an Eames lounge chair, for example, or some iconic Italian design chair. So he created a catalog, and the within reach part was having all of these iconic pieces of furniture and objects in stock and ready to ship. So we did that. I was the second employee there when we started, and it was such a fun ride. I learned that's really where I cut my teeth on a lot of what I've done later in life.
and that was and as you told me before, I guess you've written down for me that you did a lot of traveling around Italy, going to manufacturing facilities there,
Hmm.
and I guess you had studied Italian when you were younger, and you put that right to use there.
I never thought I would have the opportunity to really use it, and I did. I had a great opportunity to really oversee our Italian manufacturing, and I'm actually just back from a trip in Italy where I was with my college graduated daughter, and being in Milan and seeing I was sort of having deja vu and
Lots of
fondly
flashbacks.
remembering all of that. It's a very fun industry, and I
Yeah.
miss it actually. Hmm.
How incredible. Now, Pentimento was the next stop along in your career. Is that right?
Pentimento. Yes. Do you know what pentimento means?
I really don't know what that means. Tell us.
Well, pentimento is obviously an Italian word, and it's when, and you see it often in Italy, you have these old paintings,
Hmm.
and oftentimes they're painted over and painted over and painted over. And it's when some of that is wearing off, and the underpinnings are starting to show through. That's called pentimento. And I have no idea why we called it that. We just liked the name. But yeah, that was a venture I did with my mom, and we both love design a lot. And we had a connection to a really well-known graphic designer, and he's also a furniture designer in San Francisco, named Michael Vanderbile. And he designed this really amazing architectural line of ceramics for us. They're tabletop vases and plates, and it was really I learned a lot about manufacturing and what not to make things out of and what to make things out of, because we made them out of earthenware where really they should have been out of porcelain. They chipped all the time, and it was I really cut my teeth on materials and that.
All right, so far we've gone from furniture to some ceramic, architectural ceramics and vases and other ornamental pieces, and then you got into the you conserve. You conserve with a K, conserve with a K, and you did that for over, I mean, like maybe 13 years, and that was focused on food waste. And I guess is the story that you're sending your kids off to school with Ziploc plastic bags and things like that, and you were just said there's got to be a better solution here.
Yeah, exactly. It's focused on really trash, like waste going to the landfill. So when my daughter was at the age of going off to school and making lunches and pulling out numerous, Ziploc baggies for packing lunches, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So my partner and I came up with, we had a whole line of waste-free, reusable containers, food wraps, storage systems that we did. Yeah, it still lives today, thankfully, and because it's a really good solution, and it was widely accepted as reusable lunchtime items, and then it sort of has transitioned into sort of whole kitchen items for people to use for food on the go.
And so when you say it's still in existence, is this an online shopping opportunity?
Correct. Youconserve.com. Yep.
Youconserve.com. And have you stepped away completely from that?
I have. Yeah. I learned, it was, we were a bootstrapped company, and we did a phenomenal job at scaling and creating revenue. And in a nutshell, we got to a point where we had an opportunity with Target. Target was going to take us on in a few of their regions. And at that point, without going too into detail, Ted, they always say that these businesses, when you start scaling up to a certain level, things start shifting and you need more resources. So at that time, my partner and I pulled away.
Oh, interesting. So now we've gone from furniture to ceramics to lunchtime items. And maybe the theme is that you're a really, and somebody's called you this, a brand builder, right? You're creating brands, you're finding these opportunities, you're marketing them effectively. Is that a fair definition?
I think that's really where I resonate the most. I love sustainability. I love good design, but at the heart of everything I've done, it's always about building a brand, whether it's a consumer brand or it's a technology or it's a B2B play. It's I love that. I love bringing things to life like that.
Oh, great. And I guess in this day and age of the internet, your reach is really far and wide, right?
My reach or
the brands that you've built. Right?
Oh, the brands. Yeah. I mean,
I think about the old days that people probably were very regional with their products, or or much more so regional with their products, and now you're going all over the place, right?
I think back, the one thing, Ted, that has not gone away with the internet is going to trade shows. I think in whatever industry I've been in, trade shows still are the constant. Okay. It's so interesting. Getting that face-to-face with people and having people touch and feel, whether it's a technology or not, is still the way.
And that face-to-face networking, right?
Yeah, and which is nice that it's still
Yeah,
that still matters.
it's got that personal side to it.
Thankfully, yeah,
Yeah, thankfully. Well,
thankfully.
then in 2021, the pandemic was in full swing, sadly, but that was the reality.
Hmm.
And you decided you thought you should create like the mask, the best mask to protect people that was out there in the market. And I think this is an example of how flexible you are, because as I understand the story, you created this, and then you found that there was really not much need for it as the pandemic sort of was under control. Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's what led me to where I am today. The founder of our current
Mm,
of Orbis Electric, Marcus Hayes,
yeah.
he reached out to me. It was the mask was his brainchild, so he brought me on to help brand it and develop it. And I think that's why I said to you, timing is.
Yeah.
I feel like timing is 90% of a business. Um, we brought it to market, and it literally, I think, the week prior, requirement of masks had been.
Was lifted. Oh no.
Yeah, so it was sort of a swing and a miss,
Yeah.
but it was fun to brand, and it was definitely a whole new arena for me of healthcare and diving into all of that. Yeah.
Did you actually get into the manufacture of these masks, or were you just shy of that?
No, we did. I had a lot of, from my previous business at EcoMotion, a lot of relationships, actually in China.
Yeah.
And so we reached out and leveraged a lot of those. But again, timing is 90% of any success story.
Yeah. What a great lesson. So, and
Mhm.
timing and knowing when to throw in the towel, right?
Good point. Yeah. And knowing when to throw in the towel.
Because if you hang on for too long, then you're wasting out your resources and your contacts and everything, right?
Completely. And you know, and COVID was such. I think there were so many companies and people that had silver linings and great opportunities out of
Yeah.
COVID. I mean, look at some of the restaurants even who moved out into the street, right?
Yeah.
And they like doubled their real
Yeah.
estate, so to speak.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, there was a lot that didn't.
So now this Marcus, I can't remember his last name,
Hey, Hayes.
Hayes. So he had this idea for the mask, but then he was also the one that got you into the brake business. And now we're into the automotive segment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And your notion, or his notion, was, I love this notion of disrupting what was it, the $30 billion brake industry? What a great goal to have.
Hmm. Hmm. So, yeah, so Marcus has been in the automobile industry and electrifying things for about 30 years. And
Mm,
he's a very smart person, and he's a very technical person. So he we have this motor, and at that time we thought the motor was secondary and the brake was the hot topic, because we have a disc rotor that's very lightweight, and it cuts down on material, and it also cuts down on all of the nanoparticulate. Brakes are highly pollutive, especially when they get hot.
mm,
So this particular brake that we still use in our motor system is that we call halo drive. It's an integral part of that. Um, it cut down on a lot of pollution. And in Europe right now, there's something called the E7 rules, which are coming as a regulation that brakes will not be allowed to emit as much particulate matter.
mm,
So
mm.
there's some interesting opportunities there. We as a company, what happened was, Ted, we just had to pick a lane. And so we combined the brake and everything under one umbrella.
Yeah. So how does the brake work that's different? I mean, obviously, in the old days we had pad brakes, right?
Right.
Or drum brakes, I guess you call them, on every wheel, and then all cars now have disc brakes. I presume yours is a form of disc brake.
It is a form of disc brake, but it has a caliper, a much smaller pad, and a much smaller caliper that
Mm.
goes on it's inside out. Um, so it's literally just a ring of
Ah,
lightweight material with a lot of ventilation.
Huh.
So there's a lot of airflow
Yeah.
that is circulated in the process.
And that's the term halo, right?
Correct. Yeah. And then our motor can fit right in there. So it's, if you imagine the
Oh,
brake is going around our motor and then the wheel encompasses the whole sort of system.
right. So
Hmm.
how did you and Marcus take that concept? Start with the brake, but how do you take that and commercialize it? Do you
Hmm.
reach out to automotive manufacturers, or is there an industry association that you go to first, or
Yeah, that's a really,
what's
really good
what's the
quick.
path?
Um, well, with any good business, I think defining your path and sticking to it until such time that you determine you want to look into other paths is really,
Mm,
really important.
mhm.
Um, there's in typically when you're launching a new product, there are a lot of avenues. I mean, there should be a lot of avenues you can go
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
but defining what those are for your business and sticking to it's very important. So we were well, I'll just talk currently. Currently, we're really dedicated to speaking to automobile OEMs, original equipment manufacturers,
Mhm.
because they are really the drivers of change in anything automotive. And then we've selected this refrigerated trucking sector because it has so much upside for costs and sustainability, and
Yeah.
then data centers. And so, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, but it's fascinating to me. I mean, I take it there's gotta be a flip side of here. I mean, it sounds like this halo drive, motor system, the brake system, lighter weight, less polluting,
Hmm.
therefore, that's the more sustainable. Does it cost a lot more?
Um, no, no, that's the other thing. In
Okay.
order to
Yeah.
work, in order to be competitive, it has to be very, very cutting edge. So what we are doing constantly on the technology and materials side, we're working with our alternative materials. So,
Mm.
for
Mhm.
example, right now, magnets for motors are and the materials they're made from are very. A lot of them are sourced from China,
Mhm.
and they're very costly, and they're getting more so. We have been working extensively with the Department of Energy. There's a laboratory in Iowa that we are working with that has been doing some very interesting work on materials that we will be, when we go into full production mode, we will be integrating those materials into our
Yep.
into our motors to drive costs down.
So I think the answer is no, but are there any cars that currently employ your technology, either the brakes and or the motors, the halo drive system?
Yeah, we are not mass produced yet, but we just delivered our second car to Germany. The first one is an ID4
Ah,
that went to VW Wolfsburg, Germany, and ran on the track for all of the board members to see. And then we just delivered
exciting.
yeah, it was really exciting. And then
Yeah.
we just delivered the second vehicle, which is a Seat Cupra, which is one of their Spanish brands. It's one
Hmm.
of the brands of VW, which debuted and did the same thing this last August.
So you literally took, like, let's start with the ID4, which I'm familiar with. You literally took an ID4,
Yeah.
purchased it here in America, or and
No,
then and then
VW gave it to us.
and they did
Commissioned
they
us.
do the retrofit of it? Did they put in these new motor systems?
Um, so that's sort of a funny story. So we have a light manufacturing site in
Yeah.
Northern California. The
Yeah.
car was there.
I
We
was there.
were making the motors, and then we took it to one of their sites in California
Yeah.
to do the install. And we thought they were doing the install. And
And they thought you were doing the install.
exactly, exactly. And that also, therein lies the sign of a good team. Our team jumped in,
Hmm.
rallied, and got that thing done. And we really impressed the heck out of VW.
Right, right.
It was really good.
Now, all along the way, we've made this just sound like, oh, you come up with a new idea and you do it. You make it sound so easy, but all along the way, you're raising capital to do this, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
a big piece of the equation.
It's a big piece of the equation, and it's not easy being a self-funded company.
Mhm.
You're constantly up against, can we take advantage of this opportunity? Do we have the resources to do so? Um, I think that, Ted, is actually one of the upsides of this data center thing. You have to go to where the money is.
Yeah.
And that's where money for raising monies that, an in rounds series, which is what we're doing right now, what has to take place.
And you've obviously proven that in that data center application, you can save X number of dollars or X number of tons of carbon dioxide emissions or both of those things, right?
Yeah.
You've quantified
Yeah.
the benefit to make the case.
Exactly. We have, again, our founder and CTO. He just wrote a really extensive white paper that brings all of that to light. It's very interesting.
And I know it's not quite related to the data centers, but you did talk about the potential of, inefficient electric motors. You've said one third of the world's electricity, one third of the world's electricity is wasted by inefficient electric motors. It's a huge, I think motors use about half of all of the electricity in the world. And you're saying
Right.
a big fraction of that can be saved by going to a much more efficient motor design.
Exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of inefficiencies, not just with size, but just how they're pulling energy off of the grid. A lot of these motors
Mm.
are running all of the time, and they're not, sort of, to simplify it, they're not smart motors.
Yeah.
So they're not slowing down in slower times and ramping up in peak times.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity within that.
Sounds really, really exciting. So
It is exciting. Yeah.
what now your mom sort of put you into this entrepreneurial spirit. Now your kids are probably catching that from you. You've talked a little bit about advice. Timing is key, following staying in your lane, defining your path, sticking with it, but
Hmm.
also knowing when to radically shift as
Hmm.
need be.
Hmm.
Any other
Yeah.
advice for, young entrepreneurs or young wannabe entrepreneurs out there?
Well, my daughter, I think I mentioned, just graduated from college. And so, she's on the job path, and I'm working closely with her on that. But I truly still believe that, regardless of how much education or how specialized you are in a field, still having passion.
Yeah.
Because if you have passion, and as you're entering something and getting involved in it, you're going to have more resilience, I think,
Yeah.
once you're involved in it. And
Right.
any field, I think, requires a certain amount of resilience when you're
Yeah.
up against certain things. So if you're going into it without even, just because it's a job, I think that you're going to be more apt to burn out more quickly.
And I think you would say that, your passion shifts, or
Yeah.
maybe people have an ability to be passionate about lots of different things. I mean, look at you shifted from furniture to ceramics to, conserving, plastic bags to looking at face masks to looking at brakes and motors. And I mean, so I think some people might think, what is your passion, as if it's a singular thing. I'm a musician, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But you've demonstrated that passion can be applied in a lot of different ways, right? At different times.
Yeah. Or I just have ADD. I don't know which one.
It
No, but
suits
I
you
think I
fine.
think you can. And if I were required to sort of thread together my
Yeah.
sorted past, I think one thing does lead into the next. So
Yeah.
having the you conserve and
Hmm.
that passion for sustainability, and what I learned there definitely was a direct flow into Orbis Electric and the sustainability angle.
Hmm.
So whereas there might not be direct connections, there are threads, and that's the other thing that I'm telling my daughter
Yeah.
right now. I think many of us will have
Yeah.
threads that lead us. I'm sure I talked to you a little
Yeah.
bit. You've seemed
Yeah.
like you've had a really interesting
Well, and I think, and
path.
another side of this is you got to be thick-skinned, or you got to be gutsy. You got to be willing to take risks, to take chances.
Hmm.
to reach
Hmm.
out and to go into areas where you don't have that depth of expertise that you probably sometimes wish you did, but you're out front. You're just leading it. You're a risk
Yeah,
taker.
I think yes, I think so. I'm not a proponent of pretending you know it all. I am also a proponent of it's fine to say you don't know,
Yeah.
but there's so much you can learn just by getting in there
Yeah.
and and rolling up your sleeves.
Rolling up your sleeves. Yeah.
There's
All right, Chance, this is awesome.
Thanks,
What do
Ted.
you do for balance? I know you just took your daughter to Europe and you did hiking in Italy, which sounded fantastic.
I
Well,
know, lucky us.
how else do you take this crazy entrepreneur, this brand builder that you are,
Hmm.
all these different interests? How do you keep balance in your life?
Such a good question. I think I need to listen to someone else's podcast to get that answer because I'm actually no, it's something I'm working on right now. It's actually something I'm working on. I do one of my outlets is I have an amazing dog and I hike. So
Yeah, no,
that's
that's great.
and nature. So I would say that's my main.
I ask that question a lot, and I would say at least half of my guests say, "Ted, I am not balanced."
I know I don't feel very balanced.
Yeah, and but you're thriving, so rock on.
But yeah, and I feel but it's a good question you ask, and it's very important. And I've been sort of called out of late by some of my friends and my daughter about that. So
Yeah.
we always know it's important, but then so I'm going to work on that.
Okay.
I'm going to work on it.
Hey, thanks for being on the podcast.
Uh,
How great to have met you and hearing about your story, and congratulations on your accomplishments.
oh, I think congratulations to you for doing this, and thank you for hosting and having me. I'm
You're
really
welcome. Well,
honored.
we'll have you.
Yeah.
I want to have you back in 5 or 6 years and find out what else you've been up to.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Me too. I want to see what I'm doing too. I look
All
forward
right.
to keeping in touch and thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Chance.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanagan's Ecologic. We'll see you next time.